Hi, this is Ashik from jQuery Ajax PHP. In this tutorial, we'll be learning two modules. First is designing the form with HTML5 and then validating the form with jQuery. Let us begin by looking into the structure of HTML5. These are the minimal set of tags required by an HTML document. The very first line says that the current document is an HTML5 document and it pulls all the HTML5 features from the browser. Now, assuming that you have a basic knowledge about all the HTML tags, let's jump to the form design. As we are not going to process the form now, I'm leaving the form's action empty. I'm going to create 4 fields, an input of type text, first name. I'm also creating a placeholder here. Last name. Input of type email with the name email. And a type select for the users to choose country. And this being the default value. And a submit button. When a user clicks on submit button, the form will be submitted to the URL mentioned in the actions attribute. Let me also change the document's title. Beginners part 1. Let's see how it looks on the page. Yeah. So this is your form. This doesn't look good to me. What I need is, I want the form to be at the center of the page with each input holding one line. For this, I'm gonna add some style. Before that, let me put the form inside a container. Okay. And write a style inside the head tag. Width of 500 pixels, auto height based on the contents, with a border 1 pixel solid, gray color. Still not at the center of the page. For that, you need to add a margin. Auto brings the division to the center of the page. Fine. Now I want each input to be in one line. For that, input and select should display itself as a block entity. Fine. Okay. Now let's increase the width and add some spacing around each element. For that, set margin, say 15 pixels. Auto brings the element to the center of the container, and then a width of 85%. Let's see how it looks. This looks good, but for more readability, I'm gonna tweak the CSS a bit. I'll push the container 30 pixels to the bottom from the top, and add a padding 15 pixels up and down, 0 pixels left and right. Let's see how it looks. Let's now check if the form is working fine, and click on submit. Okay, you can see that the query string is formed in the URL, which means the form has submitted to itself, as I have not given any URL in the actions. Now that we have our form working, Let's jump to JavaScript. Before going to JavaScript, I would like to tell you about an attribute called method. There are two methods. One is post, the other one is get. Post method is used to post data to the server, while the get method is used to retrieve information from the server. In our case, we are trying to register a user to the database, so we'll obviously use post method. Now I'm going to show you how to validate the form without reloading the page. For this, we are not going to use pure JavaScript, but a JavaScript library called jQuery. You can get more information about the library at jQuery.com. Now I'm going to call the script in the header section. I'm calling the JavaScript file from the content delivery network directly instead of downloading it to my local. If you're working in a local environment and you're developing a project, it's better to download the JavaScript file where you don't have to be connected to the internet. JavaScript is a scripting language which can communicate with the browser in runtime. A popular example is the use of Facebook, where you can make post, delete post, share, comment, delete comment, change your profile pictures all at one time without loading the page. With this idea, let's start writing the jQuery code. All the JavaScript or jQuery code should run only after the page is completely loaded. To ensure that the page is completely loaded, let's write the document.ready function. All the other code should come inside the document.ready function. The first step in the validation process is to check if the user has clicked the submit button. For this, we need to access the submit button either by class name or an ID. I'm going to use ID here. So in jQuery, you select the submit button by using its ID. The click event handler is used here, so when a user clicks using his mouse on the submit button, this function will be triggered. And when the user clicks on the submit button, a set of data is returned from the jQuery, which can be stored in a variable called data. What I'm going to do is, when the user clicks on the submit button, by default the page reloads, which is the form posts the data to itself by reloading the page. We are going to prevent it, so just write data dot prevent default. Prevent default will cancel the default action of that specific element. Now I need to get the user inputs from the form fields. For this, I need to assign them either ID or class names. I'm gonna go for IDs. I'm going to store each of the values in a variable. I'm selecting the first name element and pulling its value by using the val function. Similarly for last name. Email. And country. Now let's populate a few countries in the country select box. Now I'm gonna check if the values are stored in the variable properly. For this, I'm gonna alert the first name alone and return false. Return false stops the execution of script. Let's see if it's working. Yeah, it's working. But I'm not gonna use alert here. I'm gonna use the Mozilla Firefox developer tools or either Chrome tools. For that, I'm gonna write a console log function. Right click on the page, click inspect element and go to the console tab. Refresh the page, say jQuery, Ajax, PHP. See, this is the power of HTML5. It throws an error here. Let's give a valid email address. Yeah, it accepts now. Choose a country. When I submit, the Mozilla Firefox console window will display all the 4 values. Here we go. First name, last name, email, and okay, the country is undefined here. Why? I did something wrong. Okay, the spelling mistake. Let's try it once again. Fine. Now we get all the 4 values. Let's proceed with the next step. Now we need to check if all the values have been input by the user. If any value is empty, we're gonna throw an error. If fname.length equal to 0, which means the string length is 0, which again means that the user has not given an input. We're gonna write a console error. Please provide a first name and then return false. We're gonna stop the script. I'm gonna leave the first name empty. Ajax India. Now let's try giving a first name. Yeah, it did not throw an error now. See, so this is working fine. Now we are gonna do it for all the 4 values. If all the validation fails, we're gonna write registered or user registered. Let's try. I'm gonna leave the email empty. It says provide a valid first name, user registered. That's wrong. Let's see what's going wrong here. Okay. Let's try again. I'm gonna leave the last name and email empty. Okay, then this shouldn't be executed. Says else. We're gonna use else if for multiple conditions here. or you can simply write return false, which will stop the script. If all the validation fails, the user is registered. I'm going to do the same thing. Leave the last name and email empty. Okay, it says provide a last name. Now it says provide an email. Right, it's working now. Now the console window should say user registered. Success. The console window is solely dedicated for the developers. Once you have completed your testing, you'll have to show the errors to the user. How would it be if you show the error right below the registration form? That's right. I'm gonna show the errors right below the registration form. Create a dev with a class, say validation, and write a style for it. Say validation. Its width is 100%. Should display in block entity. Having a text align center and color red. And let's append the data to validation. Say provide a first name, provide a last name, provide an email, and choose a country. What happens is, when the first name is empty, JavaScript will find the element with the class validation, which is the new division we have created right below the validation form, and I mean the registration form, and replace the text with the given input, given text. So initially the text is empty. If the first name is empty, the text provide a first name will be inserted into this division. Let's see how it works. Say I have given an empty first name and trying to submit the form. It says provide a first name. So jQuery. Now it says last name. Okay, Jax. It says an email. Again. Oh, there's something wrong with the country. What I've done. Oh, okay. I've not given a value here. Leave it empty. Now let's try again. Say jQuery Jax email, and I'm leaving the country empty here. Trying to submit. It says choose a country. When you choose a country, yeah, it says user registered, but you have to hide this once the user is registered. Let's do it. So when it comes here, it says user registered and $off. Select the validation division and remove all the text, make it empty. Let's see if it's working fine. Leaving the country empty here, says choose a country. When I choose a country and click submit, it says user registered and the validation is empty now. That's it.